Hello and welcome to the 2021 CN Summit. I'm Len Bingley, editor of Construction News. This year we are holding the summit in a format that we think might well become the new normal for conferences going forward. Today we are of course using digital technology to hold the first batch of conference sessions and to offer virtual networking opportunities. And then we'll have face-to-face sessions and real-life networking, if we remember that, next week on Wednesday, 1st of December. We hope this hybrid format will give you the best chance of gaining real value and insights from the proceedings. The theme of this year's summit is maximising recovery and modernising construction. Now, I'm very well aware that calls to modernise construction have been around for a very long time. I have no doubt at all that the prehistoric builders who created Stonehenge, hauling giant boulders across the landscape with only the most primitive tools and techniques, probably had people telling them, "No, mate, you don't want to do it like that." Some things never change, while others evolve slowly, so slowly it's hard to notice, and sometimes change arrives like a bolt from the blue. Now, CN itself marked 150 years in business over the summer, and it has been amazing to reflect on the tremendous progress our industry has made in a century and a half. Looking back at the slow but determined journey our industry has been on in terms of safety, for example, ever since the Victorian era, has been particularly inspiring. And now, of course, we are in the midst of a new transition because the pandemic is certain to have a bigger and longer lasting impact than any of the other economic recessions we've been through. It's a global disruptive event, and we can expect it to have long-term consequences, both good and bad. We've already seen the virus crisis accelerate the take-up of digital technology, for example. Less happily, now that government support has ended, we're starting to see a rising trend in administrations among firms that haven't been able to adapt. Now, there will be more business failures to come, unfortunately, because this year has seen unprecedented pressures on profitability for many firms in construction. And that's been driven in no small part by material shortages and price rises, and some costs have been rising at a rate never seen in living memory. And this has come on top of other pressing agendas around building safety, for example, and of course climate change and the need to develop realistic plans to achieve net zero carbon. And in the past week, we've seen fresh uncertainty injected into the picture around the government's commitment to large-scale infrastructure projects. And these big, ambitious schemes have so often acted as the engine of modernisation across the industry. So scaling back in this area comes as a double whammy for the future of the industry. Just a year ago, I remember congratulating Boris Johnson's government for having the spine to commit to HS2 and Northern Powerhouse Rail. And since then, sadly, the rhetoric seems to have declined from build, build, build to maybe something closer to make, do and mend. If nothing else, this shift in rhetoric reminds us that the one constant that we've always had to deal with, right from those days of Stonehenge, is change. Tomorrow is not going to be the same as today, and stubbornly refusing to accept change is a recipe for extinction. So if you'll forgive me for stealing a phrase or two from the telly, we need to boldly go where no one has gone before if we want to live long and prosper. On that note, I should probably move on and say a word about Swapcard. If you want to keep up with the content as it streams live, make sure you've clicked on the Watch Live tab. Once the session is playing on the screen, you can click on other parts of the Swapcard site, and the video should carry on playing in a small window. If it looks like a session hasn't started on time, if you're left staring at a holding slide, or if everything has gone strangely quiet, you can usually fix that simply by refreshing the page. You'll also need to be watching live to submit questions in the Q&A panel, of course. That's in the sidebar of the screen. Most of the sessions today will include a Q&A session, so please make sure you put your question in as soon as it occurs to you. There's no need to wait to be asked. You can also browse through the list of other delegates and make connections through the Attendees tab. A green circle will let you see who's logged in at the same time as you. Now, I know a digital conference isn't like a live event, but if you want to get the best value from what we're doing today, you might want to put your phone on quiet, silence Teams, and put your email into Do Not Disturb mode. I'd also like to thank our event sponsors today, IntraHive and PayApps, for generously supporting today's program. Please use the event sponsors button on the Summit homepage where you can find out more about our sponsors or speak to them directly.